All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've had a lovely first day of EventTech Live so far. Before we get into the session, I just wanted to notify everyone that if you've got any questions throughout the panel session, please join us via this link or this QR code and submit your questions online, and we'll be asking those at the end of the session. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our next speaker, who is the lovely Laura Davidson, who is the director of Tag Digital, who's also our fabulous sponsor here at the Purple Stage. Thank you very much. Laura will be talking about 5 ways to ensure digital delivers in a cookieless world. Welcome, Laura.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. So, slides go up. Great, thanks. So thanks everybody for joining. I'm Laura, one of the directors at Tag Digital. And Tag Digital are a paid media agency that supports event organisers reach their goals. So one of the really big topics that our clients have all been talking about is how to ensure that digital is going to deliver in a cookieless world. It's a huge challenge that the ad tech industry is dealing with at the moment, and something that we wanted to shine a bit of a light on today. So first of all, we're going to look at the current challenges. So challenge number 1 is the phase out of third-party cookies. So Google had announced that Chrome will no longer be supporting third-party cookies by January 2022. They've already delayed that until mid-2023. And one of the things to note, is that better? Is that better? I'll start that one again. So the biggest challenge is the phase out of third-party cookies. Google announced that Chrome will no longer be supporting third-party cookies from January 2022, but they've already delayed that until 2023. So it's not going to impact our first-party data, and keep in mind that cookie blockers have been around since the early 2000s, so it's not a real surprise that cookies are finally being phased out, and there's been lots and lots of ad technology that's been developing in the background to ensure that we have replacements. So why does it matter? Third-party cookies are the way that ad preferences and ad platforms learn about the user's preferences and enable personalised ads across all of the networks. It's important to remember that first-party cookies will still remain, so your usernames, your passwords, but your third-party cookies, where we capture lots of data, is changing. The second challenge that we've got to deal with is the iOS 14 update. So apps have the ability to track our usage and track data about us, but now with iOS 14, all apps must ask for permission, and what we're finding is less people want to be tracked, so we're seeing a reduction in our tracking on apps. iPhone users, if they don't allow this tracking, the ads are going to become less relevant, and on Facebook we're not getting breakdowns for our different age and gender and regions, as well as conversion tracking. So conversion tracking, retargeting, reporting is all getting a little bit tougher. The third issue that we're dealing with is mail privacy protection. So with iOS 15, Apple is degrading our email pixels, so it's making it harder for us to see how many emails are actually being opened. So mail apps are blocking IP addresses, and also Apple are now allowing dummy email addresses, which can harm quality. Open rate's been something that's long been a factor of digital marketing, and it's a key ingredient in optimizing. With this change, it's making open rate even more unreliable. But don't worry, there are lots of solutions. So I think there's lots of kind of scaremongering at the moment in terms of all of these changes are coming, cookies are being blocked, iOS updates are changing everything. There's lots and lots of technology, and I think we just have to think about it that technology is evolving, ad technology is evolving, and the whole landscape is going to change and get better. So this slide's a little bit tech heavy, so I won't labour on it too much, but even though cookies are being retired, there's different platforms and providers that are coming into play that allows us to still advertise to users on an individual basis. So one of the things that we really like is data onboarding platforms, so things like LiveRamp or Signal or Oracle. It means that you can take data, offline data, email data, phone data, match it with big data sets like Dun & Bradstreet, Bank of America, Sainsbury's, and you can still advertise to those users using a unique identifier. We've also then got the Flock cohort, which is Google's privacy sandbox that they're working on. So even though they're getting rid of their cookie-based advertising, they're still going to use anonymous interest behaviours and take aggregated data. One of the key things to remember is that Google make $147 billion in revenue from advertising every single year. There is absolutely no way that they are going to let that slice of the pie go. So flock cohort, whatever the default becomes, will replace that in terms of advertising. And then there's Unified ID 2.0 and Swan, which are kind of further user identifier platforms that just finds unique identifiers that we can still advertise to users. One of the other things that you can do is invest elsewhere. So lots of event organisers that we work with have always talked about a 365 approach to marketing. And whilst it's been something that we've spoken about, it's not always materialised. Since COVID, that has completely changed. So year round, we are building data, whether that's for content, for visitors, for exhibitors. We are constantly using advertising to generate leads and data. So investing in your first-party data means that you're able to have that kind of swell of data year-round. We're told that now data is more valuable than water, which seems crazy, but that's the kind of world that we live in. And the more that you can do there, it means you've got first-party data up to upload to the platforms and find lookalikes in similar audiences. Also social and contextual advertising. So you see now when you're getting adverts, everyone thinks their phone's listening to them, but really the ad platforms are picking up on 5,000 different data points on all of us. They're looking at who your friends and family are, what phone networks you're connected to, what Wi-Fi you're connected to, and all of that is measured and then used to find the predictive advertising that they think that you will need next. So all of that technology means that you can still find your target audience, even though there's some of the data has been retired. Another solution for iOS on Facebook is just to make sure that you have verified your domain. This is kind of on the technical setup. Set up your event within your aggregated event manager and optimize for the event as normal. So Facebook, another massive advertising giant who makes an 80% gross margin each year on advertising, is of course going to come up with something that's going to make it really easy for you to still advertise and spend money. So they're aggregating data, they're giving you new ways to target, and they're allowing you to do things like verify your domain to improve the targeting. Email solutions, finally, in progress, but don't expect a silver bullet. The benchmark that you would look at is what is your current open rate, what's your current percentage of your audience using iOS, and then you can kind of see what the impact's going to be on your email marketing. Again, lean on your first-party data and look at your click rate over your open rate. In general, we would say just don't freak out. There is so much scaremongering, but as I said, the ad tech giants, we can see things like the custom audiences, for instance, that when we used to upload those to Facebook or Google, we maybe get like a 30% match rate, whereas now, because you've got things like data onboarding that are improving match rates, Google and Facebook don't want to give up that slice of a pie to a kind of third-party provider. So now when we upload custom audiences to LinkedIn, Facebook or Google, we're getting about a 90% match rate on those. So all of that technology is improving and it's just going to get better over time. So I mentioned before thinking about the data building aspect of things. So data building, we work for event organisers and there's always a big push for events, virtual or live. But really what we're doing is building quality audiences to connect with exhibitors and buyers. And that can happen in lots of different ways. So we've got online platforms, we've got virtual events, we've got webinars, we've got content. So year round we're trying to gather that unique data. And what we're seeing is event organisers are now reselling access to that data. So we've got audience extension where you can get access to the data using virtual or digital advertising, as well as live events. So how do you actually build your first-party data? First of all, you want to reach your audience with really strong content. Understand what it is that they're looking to get, and then build content around that. So it could be panels, it could be interviews, it could be surveys, it could be white papers. Find the content that your audience care about and capture email wherever possible. So generally for first-party data, we are looking at emails and phone numbers, but email is generally the preference. You're then going to take all of those lists and upload them to your ad tech platforms. So it could be Google, Facebook, TikTok, all of them now are accepting custom data, whereas that wasn't that easy to do maybe a couple of years ago on Google. All of that's now changed. Once that data is uploaded, you can then create lookalike audiences. So this is where you start to see the power of the ad networks and finding users that are similar to you or who you're trying to target. So you use lookalike audiences, and again, going back maybe 2 years, lookalikes were quite tenuous and it wasn't always the people that we would really want to be advertising to. Now it's very close and it's one of our top performing ad sets. If you're worried that those lookalike audiences are too big, you can always layer it. So if you're looking for e-commerce buyers or you're looking for retailers, you can always add that onto your targeting. And then moving on to third-party data. So if you're not able to capture cookies, there's going to be potentially a part of your audience that you can't reach. So another way that you can reach them is by utilising third-party data. So you've got really key providers who all they do is build data all day long from all different sources. So you've got LiveRamp, you've got IOTA, you've got Bombora, and they're looking at B2B intent data and licensing that to any advertiser. So it's really targeted, it's intent, and it's B2B. So an example here of an audience that we would potentially use, so one of our clients runs food ingredients and food events, and we're able to find B2B food industry buyers who are 100% in market. So we're able to find the buyers who are in market, who are ready to purchase, and it's B2B data across the food industry. So it's really, really powerful third-party audiences. You can add onto your campaigns, bolster all of your results, and you're only paying maybe $1 or $2 CPM to be able to do that. So some examples of what you would use to be building your first-party data. We would look at things like ebooks, industry reports, case studies, key content pieces, and video. Keep in mind that if you can use video across any of your advertising, it's first-party data, but it's also really underpriced media, so video is one of the most powerful things that you can do. What we're working through now, I would say, is just making sure that that video is fit for purpose, that the creative looks good, that it's the right sizes, that it's short, that it's got subtitles, that it mentions your brand quickly. All these things are really, really important, and I think there's an education piece on the event organizer side to make sure that the content is best practice for the industry. So all this is content that's useful to your audience, and it's content that's going to help you build that data in order to get your audience to direct them to the products and services that you want them to access. So a few more things, and these are really innovations that have come out in the last 6 months or so that we really love, and it's helping us kind of build more of a funnel, make sure that our clients are ahead of the curve in terms of, their competitors aren't doing these things, and is going to protect them for 2023 when cookies are retired. So one of our favourite things is dynamic search ads. So 15% of all searches on google.com are brand new every single day. So as an agency, when we're building search campaigns, we say, okay, bottom, middle, top of the funnel keywords, these are what people are searching for, but actually they're brand new every single day, and there's 15% that we don't even know what people are searching for. So dynamic search ads helps us with things like voice search, which has been one of the big areas in search, new queries, and complex websites. We put in the URL of the website, and Google's going to find us keywords that's matched with whatever the user's search query is on that day. What that really does, to put it into context, is minesweep everything that could be related to your event, your platform, your content, and make sure that we're covered for every single keyword that would be super, super relevant to what you would be advertising for. So what we've seen, the results from that has been, we've had 15% more clicks, so the traffic's been better, 35% higher CTR, so click-through rate's been much better, but the biggest thing that everyone's always looking for is cost per acquisition. How much does it cost us to acquire one data record, one visitor, one exhibitor? And it's reduced our cost per acquisition by 30%. So really, really interesting service, and I think everything that we're seeing in the ad technology platforms at the moment, it's machine learning, it's dynamic, it's responsive, so there's too much data for us to process as humans now, so we need to lean on the machine learning, using all those 5,000 data points that obviously we could never access, and all of that is meaning that A/B testing is dead. There's nothing that we want to A/B test anymore. It's about the right message at the right time to the right user, and we'll all find different things that resonate with us, so when we're putting in ads, we're creating thousands and thousands of variations as opposed to saying, these are the ads for the construction guys and these are the ads for the engineering guys. It's irrelevant to do that now. So I think it's about finding out the kind of messaging that works well for your audience overall, and then letting the machines do their thing. One of the other things, as we're talking about first-party data and building that, and this is probably one of the most prominent innovations to come out of ad technology, is lead generation. So lead gen ads, we can run them on search, social, display, and YouTube, and you might have seen them before on your phone. It means that you're able to drive really high quality leads whilst you're still in the platform. So Facebook don't want you leaving the platform, Google don't want you leaving the platform, so they've made it really, really easy. If you see an ad that says, do you want to advertise or do you want to exhibit at this event? Yes, I do. Click. One click captures all your data, so first name, last name, email, phone number, and whatever custom questions you might want. So your job title, your company, whatever it is you're interested in to get back from your audience, automatically captured, feeds straight into your CRM with a webhook, and then goes into your marketing automation or into your sales team or into wherever that needs to go. So all of the ad platforms have these now, and they're just kind of coming out of the betas, and they're very, very powerful. So seamless user experience, and low friction, and you can use them to instantly get people into your CRM system. So they don't need to come off, fill in a landing page form. One click, all the data is captured straight into your marketing automation. I mentioned before about how to build new data and how to find other sources that you can capture your audience. So one of the things that we're using for this is DV360, which is Google on steroids, really. It's the programmatic enterprise level of Google Ads, and it allows us to get much more detailed targeting in terms of demographics or geo-targeting. One of the things that clients really like is access to the premium publishers. So if you want to be first on CNN or on Huffington Post or wherever it is that your audience is, we get first kind of shot at that audience. So very high quality audience, top of the funnel, pushes everybody down and gives you access to all of those third-party audiences that I mentioned. So you need to find people who are in market to exhibit at an event tech event. That is how you're going to find them. It's a way to capture new data. And one of the other things that has been working very well that will be relevant for everyone here is event ads. So social proof is huge, and we all want to know who's doing what. LinkedIn have brought out their own version of event advertising, so we can create event ads. If I say I'm going to, I can see my colleagues are going, my competitors going, the partners that we work with are going. So it helps drive that kind of social proof, increases awareness about your event, and just drives more registrations overall. So a couple of other just little bonus tips and betas of things that you might not know are happening, but things that we like and we feel like are kind of giving our clients the edge. So custom intent is a new type of display targeting, and again, it's just giving you, how do I get new data? If cookies are being retired, how am I going to find new people? So some clients of ours really like to do competitor targeting on search. It doesn't work that great, but what you can do is put your competitor's URL into Google, and we can find an audience that might be similar to the audience attending that website. So custom intent allows us to capture a competitor audience or a publisher audience, or really anyone that you're interested in the audience of that website. And YouTube campaigns where we can kind of link that and say, yep, that's our competitor's website, but here's why our event's better, here's why our platform's better, and use video to do that. Geofencing. So geofencing's been around for a while, and it gives you a way that you can target your competitor's event if you want, build new data from there, but also you can ring fence your own event, and you can sell the advertising space at your own event as digital sponsorship. So you might want to block out all the advertising space for today. You're exhibiting, that's great, but also what can you do online when people are on their phones? They're also saying, Tag Digital are advertising online too. And then finally, just a couple of the betas that we really like. So as an agency, we get access to all of the products that are in beta for Google and YouTube and Facebook, and really that's to test all the bugs and all of the problems that they've got with them. But it lets us kind of pilot it for them. And some of the things that are coming that we like, we've got Wi-Fi targeting. So you can target Facebook ads to customers who visited a specific area and have connected to the Wi-Fi. And then also kind of leading on from what YouTube did last year with True View for Action is Facebook story ads are including a story end scene. So it means that stories, I think, have had a bit of a hard time in terms of they're not driving conversion and they're driving awareness and they're driving reach. But actually what this is doing is saying, no, we're going to make that drive action as well. So at the end, that's great, register, book a seat, come to the show, whatever it is, you can kind of add that call to action. And then one of the most exciting things is YouTube audio ads. So everyone's been trying to figure out, how do we capitalise on voice search? How do we use online streaming services for radio like Pandora? We've got YouTube audio ads now, so you can use that as a placement on YouTube. And during alpha testing, 75% of those campaigns have delivered an uplift in brand awareness. And then finally, this is where we really see the machines are taking over. So over the last few years, Google have been doing more and more in terms of optimizations, insights, smart bidding. So before we would spend hours, what do we need to bid for that keyword? What do we need to bid on display? now we say we don't want to pay any more than £5 for a pre-reg, or we don't want to pay any more than £30 for an exhibitor lead. We put those numbers into Google, and all of the machine learning will deliver that for us. So Google now have kind of taken that a step further, and they're releasing Performance Max and enhanced conversions, again allowing us to unlock new audiences based on your other advertising history, driving better performance, more transparent insight so you understand really why are things working and not working, and allows you to do more automation onto the campaign so you can optimize things like content, creative, copy, and it simplifies your campaign management. So the machines are taking over, but they're doing a really good job. So would be our kind of summary. So cookies are being retired. Don't worry about it. There are lots of other things that you can do, whether it's using data onboarding platforms, whether it's looking to the new technologies that Google and Facebook are releasing, but also thinking about there's so many other types of advertising and innovation and features that you can use that are really, really exciting and will drive you to your overall advertising goals. So thank you so much for listening. We're over just right here at stand 3107. We're doing drinks. I think we've got gin and tonics and beers and lots of fun things and lots of ad tech chat. So please join us at 2:00, and welcome any questions.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was amazing. And I'll definitely join you for drinks later.
Please do.
It's always a good way to get
neighbours.
people in, right? So we've actually got a couple of questions. So the first one is, do you need large budgets to advertise on DV360, or I guess using it?
Yeah.
Do you need large budgets?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think when you're getting into programmatic advertising, you would want to have something like 5K, I would say, to spend on that kind of enterprise level platform. It is, if you're doing Google Ads, for instance, you would maybe start with something like 500. But if you want to use that kind of bigger, more enterprise level solution, I would say, about 5,000 would be the budget that we'd recommend for that.
I guess overall in a marketing budget, depending on the campaign.
It depends what you're doing, and I think it's also having the expectation of what do you actually want that to deliver. When we talk about what's going to deliver conversion, it's search, it's retargeting, it's paid social. Display doesn't always deliver the conversion, but it drives really, really good quality. So overall, everyone's trying to grow their events, grow their platforms. You need to be introducing top quality traffic at that top stage of the funnel. So it's kind of thinking about that's what that would do, is bring you really good quality traffic, push it all down, and then just overall the conversions grow. So I think you can start relatively low entry. It just depends on what your marketing budget looks like.
Fair enough. There's another question how are cookies leaving going to affect remarketing campaigns? Will I still be able to reach my audience?
Yeah, so with cookies retiring, there's going to be ways that you can retarget. I don't know if it'll still be called retargeting, but it's more aggregated retargeting. So they're saying the same way that custom intent is done, you can still kind of find your audience that way. The other way that you can retarget is there's lots of different audiences out with cookies. So that's why we're saying so much that you need to build that first party data. Because if we upload a list of 10,000 people, we can retarget them using our custom data. So custom data, your Facebook followers, your LinkedIn followers, your event attendees, all of those aren't cookie-based, and we can still target them. So there's lots of ways to retarget, but pure cookie-based retargeting, I think, will migrate into a more kind of aggregated type measurement.
Fair enough. And one from me, actually. So if you're an organizer out here and, currently you rely on third-party data to drive a lot of your marketing, what would be your top advice to change, to sort of future-proof yourself, I guess? What would be your one advice?
Yeah, I think spending the time building first-party data now is how you'll protect yourself later. So doing things and lead gen campaigns are pretty low cost to do. You might be building leads and it's £2 or £3 a lead, and it's people who want to engage with your brand and want to engage with that content. If you compare that to what you maybe used to buy in from email data providers and things, it's an absolute fortune. The data wasn't good quality, and did they actually show up to the event? It was very, very hard to, cost per acquisition, you'd maybe be in the hundreds at that stage. So I think it's spending the time thinking about decent content that you can actually do. And I think by their nature, event organisers create loads of brilliant content, all of the on-demand stuff from today, webinars everyone's been doing. So have good content and then invest a bit of budget to amplify it. Organic is very, very difficult, if not impossible, I think, in a B2B landscape. So you need to think about how do you amplify that? What budget are you going to put behind it? And then it means when you come to actually marketing your event or your next thing that you need to market, you've got this wealth of data sitting behind you, so you're not so worried if you lose your website retargeting audience or 50% of it, because you've got a really strong audience who want to engage with you anyway.
Fabulous. Well, we've actually got one more question that's come in whilst we've been talking about that. Any data onboarding platforms you would really recommend?
Yeah, so we've gone with LiveRamp has been the data platform that we've chosen. It's probably the market leader, and we liked it. Some of them can be quite technical. I think we thought that the user interface was good for everybody, and the data that they've got seems to be working well for us. So they also have licenses in the US, Europe, and Asia, whereas some of the data onboarding platforms don't have that. So we went with LiveRamp. It is really good, and we're using it, and we're seeing improved match rates at the moment. But I think what will happen in the next 18 months is the match rates will get very, very good on the platforms, and we might not have to rely on that so much. But for now, it's definitely meaning that we're getting through and getting higher match rates at the moment.
Or simply just use someone like Tide Digital,
Yeah,
right?
we do it all for you. We do all the legwork and all the heavy lifting. You don't need to worry about onboarding platforms and flock cohorts and all of these things.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. That's been amazing. I guess maybe we'll all see them for a drink later on at 2 o'clock, right? All right, thank you so much.
Thanks.